Okay, this has got to be the most insane looking mobile lens I've used so far. This is SanDMARC's new probe lens. And with it you can get some pretty sick looking shots from all sorts of crazy angles and perspectives. So let's take a look. Hey guys, it's Jack here, I'm at Tech Videos, and I've been trying out this funky looking mobile lens that SanDMARC sent over. And this is going to be a bit of a game changer for anyone who's into filmmaking or content creation, who's shooting with an iPhone. And even if you don't shoot with an iPhone, this thing is going to make you want to try it out. I shoot most of my stuff on the channel with a Sony a7 III, but I am no stranger to shooting bits of B-roll with the iPhone. When I'm spending time with like a product before my review, I'll just grab a few shots here and there that I think I might need. And this lens is going to be something that I start reaching for because the kinds of shots you can get with it are kind of mind-blowing. SanDMARC sent me this to try out, but this video is not sponsored by them. And I will link to this below if you want to grab one for yourself. And that link, by the way, will get you 10% off pretty much everything on their store. Now, SanDMARC make a bunch of mobile lenses, and we've looked at a few of them here on the channel before. They make telephoto lenses, macros, wides, anamorphics, all for taking advantage of the wider aperture and the high resolution of the main camera, like on the 15 Pro Max, giving you tools to shoot in different ways that you wouldn't necessarily normally be able to do with the iPhone on its own. They look kind of how you'd expect, almost like mini versions of the bigger lenses that you'd mount to a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. But this new probe lens, this thing looks crazy. It's about 30 centimeters long, or about a foot. It is encased in this aluminium metal body for strength and durability, like a lot of their other lenses. But this has two main features, two main ways that you can shoot with it that make the probe lens special. Firstly, it lets you get right up close to the subject, letting you capture even more detail, but without the shallow depth of field effect like you'd normally get with SanDMARC's macro lenses. The probe lens keeps more of the scene in focus. It has a 2.1x magnification, which doesn't sound like much, but because of the optics in this lens, it has a pretty short minimum focus distance, just 60mm away from the tip. So you can get right up close, which is really hard to do normally with the more recent iPhones, as the minimum focus distance is a lot further away. You'll often find that it just switches to the lower quality ultra-wide camera for macro mode. Not only that, it also has a built-in focus ring, which is, yeah, it's the first time I've seen that in a mobile lens. So you can adjust the focus from 16mm all the way to infinity as far as I can tell. Bear in mind that you'll also need to adjust the iPhone's camera focus as well. Now, you can't do that natively in the default camera app, so I highly recommend that you download either the Blackmagic camera app, which I've been using, or the Final Cut camera by Apple, both of which are free. And both allow you to take full manual control of focus. For stills, I like to shoot with halide, but that does need a subscription or a lifetime purchase. And these apps also stop any weirdness that you might get with the default app switching camera lenses. It tends to get a bit confused whenever a mobile lens is mounted. The second thing that makes this lens unique is that long, slender barrel shape. It is just over 35mm thick, which is thin enough that it opens up whole new ways to shoot video. You can push and pull through small gaps for a dramatic angle or reveal, or get the tip of the lens right up close to something in a way that just wouldn't be possible with just shooting with your phone, because the phone itself would get in the way, or it just wouldn't fit through the same gap. I got this awesome shot getting right down and in between the fold between these two book pages, and thanks to the close focus distance, the text on the pages is still sharp and crisp. You can still read it. There's no extreme depth of field effect like you get with a traditional macro lens. These shots are still nice and wide as well. This has a 106-degree field of view, which also makes the video really immersive. It works really well when you do a shot like this, passing by something really close to the lens. It really sells the effect, and for anyone seeing footage like this, it's going to make them wonder how on earth you pulled it off without them knowing that it was done with a probe lens. I love this shot as well, using the long barrel length to travel through and underneath the floating iPad Pro attached to the Magic Keyboard. There's no way a normal camera or even an iPhone will be able to fit through here for a shot like this. And this one moving across the top of the keycaps for a super up close macro effect. If this lens is giving you any like cool shot ideas that I should try out, then let me know in the comments. It's a lens that isn't going to be one that you use for like every shot in a project. It is very specialized, but for those times when you do reach for it, when you do need it, it can get you some really unique perspectives. And it's pretty incredible that you can pull off shots like this with an iPhone and this lens. Now, as I've been testing this out, there's a few best practices and things you should know when shooting. I would highly recommend that you use a slider, either a manual or a motorized one. SANDMARC has a manual one on their website that they also sent me in the package, and it is definitely a must-have if you want to keep your shots looking smooth and steady. If you try and shoot with this handheld, then you're not going to have a good time. I mean, it certainly is possible, and maybe it works for the kind of shot you're going for if it's more sort of stylized, but it is very difficult to hold the phone and lens steady and also, do like a camera move at the same time. You're also going to want to keep the slider movement fairly slow, as even just the slightest knock or bump can really shake up the shot. If you think about it, just like a slight bit of movement at the phone end is going to magnify down the barrel and it's going to give you a lot of shake. So gently move the slider carriage to keep things in control. If you are using a manual slider like me, then there will still be some inevitable little shakes, but you can smoothen them out a bit in post. In a lot of the shots that you've been seeing, I've applied Final Cut's built-in stabilization. The lens itself uses the exact same mounting system as all of SANDMARC's other mobile lenses, so you will need one of their cases with the metal mount plate over the cameras to screw the lens into place. When you're rigging the setup to the slider, you can use a phone clamp. I got this metal one off Amazon. I'll link to it below. It was pretty affordable and it is nice and strong. But the probe lens is pretty heavy with all of that metal and glass. It weighs just over 250 grams. So that is going to put quite a lot of pressure on the mount point. And I have seen it pull the case away from the phone slightly, leaving like a slight gap. It hasn't really affected any of the shots I did with it, but instead I'd suggest using a clamp like this and mounting the lens to the slider carriage instead of the phone to better balance the weight. You're also going to need quite a lot of light on the subject. Now, I had to use all of my lights in my recording room to get these shots, and I still had to dial the ISO up a bit just to make sure that everything was properly exposed. It can be tricky getting the lights angled the right way when you're trying not to create any shadows, but the probe lens does have a pretty neat trick. On the end, it has a built-in ring light with some LEDs, and you can use this to light up the subject. And this comes in really useful if you're shooting with a probe in like a really confined space or really up close. There's a button on the side with 2 brightness settings to choose from, and what's more, this has a built-in battery as well, so you don't have to keep this thing plugged in. When the time comes, you just need to plug in the included USB-C cable to give it a recharge. With it in the box, it also comes with this carry case and a lovely long pouch to keep the probe lens in. Plus you also get front and rear lens caps to keep the glass protected in storage. This lens is definitely one of the coolest accessories I've used in a while for mobile shooting. I love the unique angles and perspectives you can capture with it. If you do any sort of like product or food-based videography, I think it can work really well for things like that. Just using it these last few days, it's given me so many like shot ideas that I want to try in future videos, so keep an eye out. The probe lens retails at $350, making it SANDMARC's priciest mobile lens. But honestly, I can see why, with like the size of this thing and the metal materials, the aluminium body, the multi-element optical glass used inside, and not forgetting the dedicated focus wheel. I'll link to both the probe lens and the SANDMARC slider in the description, and that link will also give you a 10% discount at the checkout. I do want to get a motorized slider to help reduce any camera shake, so if anyone's got any recommendations for one, let me know in the comments. Check out my video featuring SANDMARC's other lenses if you want to see what they can do. They let you take full advantage of that better main camera on the iPhone. If you've got any questions, drop them below as well. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe and hit the bell to see more tech videos from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.